Welcome, everybody, back to Friar Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the most recent MLB lockout news. Now, the MLB has decided to change three things. First thing, the shift is being banned, and two things are being implemented. One of them is a pitch clock, the other is bigger bases. So, obviously, the biggest thing here is that there's no longer a shift. That's the news. We actually tweeted about this. Surprisingly, I thought a lot of people were not going to like the idea of banning the shift, but there's a lot of people that are on board. A lot of people felt, it's something that can add a lot more excitement to the game just because it's going to add more offense. I know right now all three of us do not like the idea to ban the shift. So I'll let you start, Isaac. I have a lot of things I want to say about it, but I know you do as well. So Isaac, let us start with you on the shift.
Well, first, especially to guys like Joey Gallo, I think in order to be a good professional baseball player, you should be able to hit to all sides of the field. And to complain about, your struggles because you can only hit to one side of the field, you're eliminating a whole half of the plate, and that's why he's batting 199. But um, regarding the shift, though, like I understand it brings, I think I said it. I said the reason to ban the shift is because, and I can agree with the people who do say this, is because more offense, more viewers, more runs. You got a lot more offensive production that comes out of banning the shift. And of course, that's going to bring in more viewers. A lot of people who don't know the game of baseball want to see offense. They want to see fireworks. They want to see home runs, base hits, doubles. They want to see all that. But the goal of the game is not only to put runs on the board, but to prevent the other team from putting up runs. And you're eliminating a way for the defense to prevent the other team from getting runs. It's an objective of the game. So if statistics show, Joey Gallo hits to the right fielder 60-70% of the time. Yeah, I would want my guys to shift too because it eliminates one of the best power hitters in baseball from doing what he does best. You I don't know. I don't like the idea of banning the shift. I think it ruins an aspect of baseball that I cherish personally. I really like strategy. I really like seeing how defenses strategize against other, great hitters, how hitters strategize against the pitchers that they face. It's all a part of the game. 90% of baseball is mental. So if you're able to strategize and prevent the other team from scoring runs and you're able to do it properly, then yeah, I personally really like it. And by taking it away, yes, you're going to get a lot more offensive production. And yes, I'm personally going to have fun watching it too. But I also have fun seeing Manny make like the Willie Mays plays out in right field. Like it's good. It's fun to see how defenses strategize against some of the best hitters in baseball. The Dodgers do it a lot. The Padres were starting to do it a lot. There were a lot of teams, successful teams that were doing it. So they were successful for a reason. And you started seeing it all throughout baseball for a reason. Of course, this doesn't. I personally don't think it benefits Padres. Matt and I were talking about it. Well, I think Will Myers gets a benefit. Eric Hosmer gets some benefit, but at the same time, I don't really like seeing one of the biggest things in baseball get changed. Defensive strategies a part of the game, and if you're not able to hit it to the other side of the field as a professional baseball player, you got a whole off season to work on it. You get paid millions to be able to do stuff like that. Um, it there's a lot harder things in life than be able to hit a ball to the other side of the field. And I know the guys are throwing 99 miles per hour, so don't tell me, you try hitting a ball 99 miles per hour. I understand that even at the plate, it's hard to control where you hit the ball, but you should be able to do it either way.
And even if you can't hit it the other way, there was a video clip of Joey Gallo trending on Twitter today of him bunting it down the third base line at the 97-mile-per-hour fastball. He bunted it down the third base line for a hit. Why don't you just do that more? If you did that, guess what? They wouldn't be able to shift on you because they're giving you a free base. They are literally giving you the entire left side of the infield. The shortstop literally had to run into the outfield part of the grass to get the ball because no one was there. Yeah, your game is hitting to the right side for power. You have an entire left side where there's no one there. You put it on the ground and you get on base. Baseball is known to be a game of adjustments and a game of strategy, and you're taking it away. I don't think there's been a lot of details coming out on what the entire ban of the shift is, because there's still a lot of shifts before. Okay, you can't put your third baseman in right field. You play double field, double play depth. You have people shade up the middle. You have others move over. So I wonder to what extent the ban on the shift is going to be. But you're just taking away a big part of strategy of playing the game. Because I know for Will Myers, for example, he hits the ball up the middle a ton, and they put the shortstop right there, right behind the base, so that he can't do that. And then they just kind of shifted people over to the right because he tends to hit more to right field. For Joey Gallo, they took the third baseman and put him in the outfield, and then all the outfielders shifted to the right because all he did was hit to right field. And guess what? If you can't do anything more than that, that's on you. Pitchers get picked apart for only having 2 pitches. What do? They get a third pitch, they adjust, and they come back at you with something new. You're taking away that aspect of the game for hitters. And honestly, some of my favorite hitters are contact hitters because guess what? They can hit it to every single part of the field. They can somewhat pick and choose where, okay, that's why Tony Gwynn was one of the greatest hitters of all time. There was an interview of him saying, I think a game that got rained out. It was like a 1-2 count, I think. And Tony Gwynn said, they're going to throw me a slider low and away. I'm going to take it into the left field gap, the left center gap, and you're going to score from second base. Same pitcher comes out the next day, same count. And that's exactly what he did. He called it the day before. He knew what it was going to do. He knew what he was going to do with it. And guess what? It worked. He made the adjustment. He hit it to the opposite field into the gap and the run scored. We don't get that anymore. It's like everyone's swinging for the fences. Home runs are great and all, but if it's home run or nothing for you, you got to change your game a little bit. Some gap-to-gap hitting is probably some of the best ways to score runs. What is the saying? Home runs and strikeouts kill rallies or something like that. I'm forgetting the exact saying. But you get people on base constantly. That's the way you score more runs. Hitting a home run, yeah, sure, it's a great way to score runs off one swing, but getting everyone going, hitting hits to all fields, that's also exciting to watch. It's not just home runs. There's so many different aspects of a game. Watching people run down a triples are probably more rare than home runs. Watching people hustling to third base thinking they're going to get it, that's also exciting. Seeing people absolutely rip one into the left field wall, watching people run the bases, that's also exciting. And you're taking away a big part of the game.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I want to bring up. I think the first thing is, okay, why are they doing this? They're doing it for entertainment value. But my kind of question with that statement, and I definitely get that's clearly the reasoning behind this. But is that what this is doing? Is this actually going to do that? Because what I feel like is one of the big issues with like the entertainment value part of baseball is in today's modern game, there's very few amount of base runners. This doesn't fix that. In fact, this makes that even probably less likely because like you guys have said, it's a very simple thing to, or not simple, I shouldn't say simple, but when you're giving an entire side of the field to someone, that's basically saying if you can bunt it down the third base line, if you can push bunt it down the third base line, you're going to end up being on first base, maybe even second base, depending on how it comes off the end of your bat, because that might go into foul territory and there is no one remotely near that ball. So you could end up getting a double off of a push bunt down the line. Players don't do it. So I guess that's kind of the argument there. So I get that, but I just don't understand, like, is this necessarily doing that? I don't think this makes there become all of a sudden less home runs. I don't really think it does that, but it's basically you're just trying to say like, okay, this hitter can't do this. The other thing is I saw when someone commented, this happens in a lot of other sports where you can't do certain like defensive adjustments. The only thing I could think of was in the NFL, how you can't overload one side on the kickoff. And that is because there were way too many concussions on kickoffs, and that was a safety precaution. So it's not like a strategy thing. It's like they had to change it because they felt like it was going to reduce a bunch of concussions. But you look around different sports and you go, okay, in football, you go to prevent defense. In soccer, you go to park the bus. In hockey, you pull your goalie from the game. You literally take out your goalie as an adjustment to try to score, right? Like you change your personnel in a way that isn't natural to like the constant flow of the game all the time. And then basketball, I guess you don't really do that because it's more one-on-one, at least in the NBA. But in college basketball, if a guy is just absolutely killing you, you switch to a zone. Like that's just like that's usually what happens. So I just find that argument kind of weird because I feel like there's definitely defensive adjustments in every sport, or like how you change the way your person is lined up. So it's really, really strange. Chase, you also brought up, how is it actually going to look? Because for a guy like Will Myers, if you're just saying you can't put your third baseman in right field, well, then for Will Myers, it does nothing. So why would you just randomly benefit a Joey Gallo when, if you don't allow the shortstop to stand behind the second baseman, Will Myers is getting 20 to 30 more hits a season, like without a doubt. He hits one hoppers or liners right to that guy all the time. So I think it's just kind of weird. How is it going to play out? I'm not quite sure. But overall, I'm not a big fan of them changing the shift. I think for the Padres, I think this actually hurts quite a bit. There's not a bunch of guys that are like where they bring an outfielder in. Hosmer, they kind of adjust the infield. Myers, they adjust the infield. Grisham, I guess, is the best case for that, but it doesn't really help the Padres that much offensively with the current guys that they have. And then defensively, we've seen how great Manny Machado's been in right field, how many highlight reel plays he's made in right field, because that's the thing. I don't get the entertainment value aspect of it because the shift is like producing a ton of highlight reel plays defensively. And that's something that, like, if you're looking at baseball highlights, most of the time it's crazy defensive plays. If you're seeing stuff on like TikTok or Instagram or wherever it is, it's very like, and once in a while you'll see like home runs and stuff, but it's usually like clips of multiple home runs. Where if you're watching an individual clip, it's usually a defensive play or it's a pitch, or like it is that side of the game. So I just don't really think it's going to accomplish what the goal is to accomplish with this change. So that's kind of where I'm at on the shift. In terms of implementing the pitch clock and the larger bases, I think I like the pitch clock. I think that the pace of the game is a little bit slow, and I think that's something that actually will drive viewership up. If you're pitching a much higher rate and the games are shorter, even if they're not that much shorter, if just the pace of the game speeds up, I think that's a positive thing. Does it hurt the pitchers? Yes. Apparently every single rule change is going to hurt the pitchers as well. So we're going to have to cope with that one. But I don't think it's like that big of a deal where you just have to be quicker. You have to play at a faster pace, and the pitchers are going to have to adjust to that. I expect that they're going to be able to. I think it's just going to make the game move quicker. The larger bases, I don't really understand this one at all. I don't think anyone was looking at baseball going, oh, what's the issue? Oh, the bases are too small. I don't know anyone that's ever said that before. So that one was really random. And I know it had been discussed earlier in the negotiations, but I didn't really think that was going to matter that much. Me and Isaac were talking about it before, and we said, like, okay, maybe there's going to be less runners thrown out. Once again, that's a highlight reel play. So, like, what's the point of doing that? I don't know. I don't know if you guys have any ideas on those two things, though, but what do you think about, pitch count and I guess the weirdness of having larger bases?
So all I've seen about the larger bases is it prevents injuries. I guess I'll try and do more research on that because I don't understand how, but I'm sure there's a reason. There's got to be a good reason for it if it's being implemented, if the players wanted it, I guess. But the pitch clock, I really like the pitch clock. I think a lot of people who don't play baseball, even some that have played before and love to watch it, understand that sometimes the game is really, really long. Pushing 4 hours is pretty absurd. I don't think anybody wants to watch 4 hours of that. I mean, there was a Padre game that went past midnight that started like at 7:30, and I don't think anybody wants that. And that's because it went into extra innings, though, not because pitchers took forever or whatever. But that's a cool rule. I like the pitch clock. Larger bases, I'll have to look more into that. If it prevents injuries, I like it. Of course, I like it. I love to see players not get hurt. It helps the game as long as stars aren't getting hurt, and other players, not just stars. I'm not gonna leave out the other guys. But wanting to go back to the ban, just because the ban is implemented, for whoever's happy about the ban, it's not going to change the identity of the game. The new identity of the game is long ball and strikeout. And that's why we constantly talk about why the Padres need power hitters, because yes, throughout baseball, it's not thought, we want guys that can either hit a home run or strike out. Throughout the history, that hasn't been the case. But there's a new identity of baseball. There's a new way to play baseball, especially in the pros where you're seeing nothing but power. You're seeing a lot of guys that can hit bombs in lineups that normally win. You see the Dodgers from top to bottom have guys that can hit for power, and they're good for hitting for average, but all of them can hit for power. For us, that wasn't the case. So you're starting to see a shift in the identity of baseball, and that's not going to change no matter what shift bans happen, whatever it is. There's really no reason to be happy about it, I think. But I guess for those who don't really know the game, who like to see hits, who love to see offense, I could see why they want it. It's gonna bring a lot more excitement. It's gonna bring a lot more runs. You're gonna start seeing a lot more highlight reels of guys getting hits, but those don't really turn into highlight reels. So I just like seeing good defense, man. I just like seeing how managers strategize. I like seeing how players perform in those situations. It's so much fun to see that because, when you actually like are in the game and you're facing guys that you've played before multiple times and you know what they do, you strategize to try and get them to not do that. And if the player can't adjust, if the other player can't make an adjustment on the fly, that's what baseball is, being able to make adjustments on the fly. If the other player at the plate is not able to make an adjustment on the fly, then that's an easy out. Cool. Like, that's what we're supposed to do, right? That's what a defense is supposed to do. Figure out a way to make their lives easier to get the out and go back and hit. Apparently people don't like that, which, okay, I understand. But as somebody who really likes to see how teams strategize against the others, I don't like that the shift is being banned. Of course, those people who are excited that the shift is being banned, when they see that, oh man, that play could have been made if the shift wasn't banned, they'll be like, oh man, I wish the shift was back. There's got to be sides to it, but I think all of it's cool except for the shift. Hopefully, we are going to see a lot more offense. I'm all right with that. I love offense. Like, I love home runs. I was never a pitcher, so I love offense. But it's just cool seeing guys like Manny make cool plays.
Yeah, there's definitely one thing I agree. It is the pitch clock. I can't remember who it was, but there was a Dodger reliever a few years back that was infamous for taking like 30 seconds to a minute in between each pitch. It was to the point where it was like either the Ninja or another pitching account. They did a side-by-side of Mike Clevenger and him. Mike Clevenger threw 3 pitches in the span it took him to throw 1. Mike Clevenger got the ball back from the catcher and threw 2 more pitches before he threw 1. That is ridiculous. I know from like a pitcher standpoint, it's getting into your groove, getting into a rhythm and everything. But man, if you take 30 seconds to a minute in between every single pitch, that is horrible. I mean, innings drag out. The defense gets bored. I know, especially because I pitched and played first. Waiting for a pitcher to pitch like after a minute, dude, you're just like, dude, hurry up. And for the bigger bases, I kind of get it. Being cleated at first base is never a good thing. I've gotten trucked there. It's never fun. And, you kind of save some guys' ankles. It might help with the sliding into second base. They have a little bit more of an area to either avoid getting spiked there. It saves first baseman a little bit. But I think it's the real areas that it's going to improve injuries is first basemen are not going to get cleated as much. And if they do get cleated, it's going to be seen more in a dirty way. And the slides in at second base, there probably isn't going to be a lot of collision anymore. I know, along with like the Chase Utley rule that was somewhat implemented. But if you give them more room to, okay, if you overslide the bag, that means you slid really, really late. That's kind of dirty. But they have more room to, one, stay in the back of the bag, do the little neighborhood swipe. You'll prevent some injury for sure. So I don't mind that. I think it's going to be weird for the infielders because they're going to be like, I'm so used to the smaller base, so it's going to take a period of adjustment. But other than that, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I am happy that you guys came in and said some stuff about the basics because I didn't really get that. I was confused on that end. If it's going to prevent injury, I'm all for it. I mean, you don't want to see the stars get hurt. Last year, we saw a lot of star players get hurt. And also, like you said too, Isaac, not just the stars. You got to talk about everyone in that situation. You don't want to see any injuries across the board. But I think that is a good point. And Chase you playing first base, I think that's a good point too, is that like guys definitely get their ankles stepped on, and you'll see guys miss a while. If you sprain your ankle or you twist your foot, like you can miss a couple weeks, you can miss a couple months depending on how severe that is. So that is definitely something that can help. And just even like a couple inches of the bag being bigger. I'm not exactly sure. Do you guys know the exact size that they made it? It's not like that much bigger. It's like a small amount, but even that, it just gives you a little extra room. So I think overall it's going to be a positive thing kind of when you bring up that it's injury related. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about the shift ban, the pitch clock, larger bases, all of it. Let us know what you think, because I don't know. We're all pretty against the idea of banning the shift, but if you are for it, let us know why. I mean, I think there's reasons behind it. I just think that overall it does hurt the strategy of baseball, which I'm not a big fan of. One thing though, we also are all for the DH, but I feel like this is kind of a different thing. I don't think this is the same type of like changing the game in terms of that. So maybe we'll have to do that kind of conversation sometime down the road, just like the differences of why we like the DH, why we don't like banning the shift, because I think some people put those in the same category, but we don't. So maybe we'll have to do that down the road. But I don't know. Let us know what you guys think, how you feel about banning the shift. Thank you all for listening, and we'll have Padres content out for you guys tomorrow.